How nice to have you with us on a busy afternoon on this 20th day of March 2018. Good to have you with us on this, believe it or not, so-called first day of spring, although you would never know it, here in Midtown. Good to have our good buddies, of course. Billy Zimmerman's just going to walk out the door. Pepperoni pie awaits. Eddie Erickson's in the house today. Colin Schmeling looking for a new book to read. He's done with the Charlie Brown book, so we're going to move ourselves along here and get him going to Curious George. Good to have you aboard as we chat about what's cooking as far as the world of sports is concerned. Chicken or steak are done. Danny Cannell had his power out. That's what you do when you put 9 different people in 9 different locations doing these shows, and then Steve gets flustered and you have a garbage talk program, and then I come on the radio at 3 o'clock with absolutely nobody in America listening. So let me see if I can put something on the table to get Left Coast Live on the track. That a little bit later today. Good to have Eddie Erickson in the house too. Eddie doesn't want to have to stay out in Massapequa on a Wednesday night. There's a foot of snow that's going to barge down on the northeast, so what else is new? And that will begin sometime early in the morning, Wednesday morning, and continue into Thursday at 2 a.m. The guys are going to get rooms. Bill's not going to get a room. Bill is going to be essentially man of the North, and he is going to figure out a way to get home tomorrow. He's going to basically take a sled and take it over the East River and get home via toboggan tomorrow night with Kelsey on his back. That should be a hell of a ride, so we'll have fun with that in the course of our afternoon as he talked about what's coming. We have a busy show today. I'm looking forward to it. Steve Mariucci later on the quarterbacks and what the Jets did. We didn't even mention it yesterday, so Mariucci, we'll get a conversation going with him. We ask him about Michigan State. Izzo's his best buddy. We'll find out what happened to Tom. And then Tom Yorkie, not him, but the guy who wrote his biography, Bill Nolan. It's a wonderful book. I actually lived it when I came back from Grenada, when I somehow finished 5 books in 7 days without a word to the missus. I would talk to Bill about that. It's a great book on Yorkie. If you don't know anything about him, you get a kick out of it. We'll go through his history of running the Red Sox from 1933 to 1976 with Bill. Did a great job. He, a little bit later on today, too. So we got a lot happening on this busy show. I'll give you a little potpourri on our start there at 5 o'clock. Again, there is a snowstorm. Can you imagine that? It's March 21st. It's 8 days before opening day, and you are going to have seriously, I mean, the third one in a month, and I don't know if you want to call it a nor'easter or just a blizzard, but you're going to have, at least where I live, 11 to 15 inches of snow and ice beginning tomorrow morning. So there you have it as far as the weather is concerned, and Steve's going to take everybody out to dinner. I took everybody to Del Frisco's last week. Steve has found a Wendy's on 10th Avenue that we're all going to go to. So we're having some fun. I'm in a goofy, what the hell? And I'm on Breaking Bad, by the way. I finally got through the doldrums of the early part of the 5th season after Gus was knocked off. And I got through the first 4 episodes of that, about 2 weeks in the last 10 days. And last night I put together 2, and they somehow figured out, this is where this show is weird. They somehow figured out a way to steal all this methylene from the train, which is a mind by. How do you do that? I don't care what sort of genius you are, but they stole all the methylene from the train in that 3-mile spot where there's no cell phone service and everything else, somewhere in the desert of New Mexico. And in the process of that, this new guy that Walter White and Jesse hired, and that, of course, is Aaron Paul and Bryan Cranston. This new idiot decides to, because he's a little worried, decides to kill an 11-year-old kid who likes to capture tarantulas in the desert, and he knocks him off on his bicycle. Oh, God, it's a mess. Anyway, and they put Walter White, who, wants you to think he's a nice guy. What does he do with the 11-year-old body with the kid? They take apart the bicycle, and they put the 11-year-old in sulfuric acid so nobody can find him. Tough. Anyway, let's move on to something a little bit more palatable on this day. Let's do this. A couple things in baseball. Let's start. What an injury. Justin Turner's out. Got hit by a pitch last night in his left wrist. He, of course, Dodger third baseman. He's going to miss 8 weeks. And the Dodgers are an interesting team. We'll do that, and then we're going to do one other thing, and then get your calls in. The Dodgers are an interesting team. They won 104 last year. They were unbelievable for such a long. We can have Eddie look it up. Were they like 90 and 30 at one point? I mean, they were. their high water mark may have been something like 93-38. They had one of the great stretches in the history of the sport where they, won 50 or 65 games. So, I don't know what they finished up with only 104 wins because they lollygagged down the stretch, and they didn't. As you'd expect, they were due to bounce, fall off a little bit, and they did. They recovered. They obviously played an excellent postseason, except for the last couple games against the Astros. They had the last game against the Astros. They played a very good postseason and lost in the 7th game to Houston. So the Dodgers begin the year in a very interesting scenario. First off, they don't want to go over the luxury tax, so they didn't really add any players. Secondly, they lost Darvish and Brendan Morrow. Morrow part of their bullpen, Darvish part of their rotation. Thirdly, now they've lost Turner, so you got to be a little concerned there. And then finally, the division itself, with the exception of maybe the Diamondbacks, the division itself added these players: Eric Hosmer, Wade Davis, Brian Shaw, Evan Longoria, Andrew McCutchen. Lost J.D. Martinez, brought in Steve Souza. I mean, that is tricky. So the Dodgers will be interesting here in a division that is going to really, cannibalize each other all season long. The Dodgers now will see what they can do coming off that, great year. But they lost. They lost in November, so you wonder if they have a little hangover. I think they would myself. It's weird. Unlike last year, I don't think the Astros will have any hangover at all. I think they're primed. I think they're raring to go. I think they want to prove to folks that last year was no fluke. I still think they're very hungry. I think getting Altuve signed, $30 million a year, is a tremendous plus. He is beloved on that team. Just go ask Correa, Springer, Bregman. I think that is a major factor, and I think the Astros, with Verlander for the whole year, Garrett Cole, I think they're going to be a complete pain in the ass in the American League. Excuse my French. Now, they may not be as good as the Yankees, and that would be a hell of a run, but the Astros would be very good. So I don't think a hangover, and they won. I don't think a hangover is going to affect them, but I do think a hangover is going to affect L.A. I think when you haven't won since '88, you had the year that they had Eddie still trying to search the high water mark of the 2017 Dodgers. He was looking at he didn't realize, he forgot he was looking at the old Brooklyn Dodgers. He had forgotten they moved to L.A., but he'll find out. I think they were 93-38 or some crazy figure like that. 55 games. I mean, they were really way, way over the map. I don't know what the exact number was, but I think the Dodgers might have 91-36. Well, think about that. The Dodgers were 91-36 on August 25th. They won 91 games and lost 36. Now, when they finished 104-58. So from that point on, they were 13, do the math, and 27. I mean, I lost, 13 of they lost 27 of the last 40. No big deal. They played so well in the postseason, you can't go crazy. But I do think the Dodgers have a bit of a hangover. So we'll see. They're interesting right now. Now you got Turner out, so we'll see how they handle it. That's the first thing I wanted to get to. The second thing I wanted to mention, and I know baseball wants to do this, I think it's a complete joke. And I don't like it when they play in Australia. I don't like it when they open up in Tokyo. I don't like it when they go to the Puerto Rico, and I know this year they're going there in late April with the Indians and the Pirates, and maybe that is good for the Commonwealth down there with the hurricanes and everything else. Give them a little life. Maybe that's a plus. That's a different argument. I hate when baseball goes out of their way to try to do football, and they try to spread quote unquote their brand and start playing games all over the continent to make sure that people can think that they're playing baseball. I can understand. I don't like it when they go to the Orient, but I can understand playing in Japan or someplace, because let's face it, they love baseball in Japan, and Korea, wherever they decide to play. So I can live with that. World Baseball Classic, the whole 9 yards. I don't like it, especially when it's opening day, because it ruins opening day. But I understand. I mean, and I get it. Japan doesn't want games in June. They want opening day. So baseball, at many a time in the last 10, 15 years, has ruined the opener for a lot of the fans of the teams who were there by having the opener be there. Mets, Cubs played. Yankees, Red Sox played. The A's and the Red Sox played. I hate when they do it on the opening day, but I can at least to a degree, get it. You want to tell me Puerto Rico and playing that little stadium down there is a plot? It's only a couple games in April. I can live with it. But, next year, baseball, it was in the New York papers today. I don't know if it was addressed all over the place. I don't understand it. Next year, baseball is going to have the Red Sox and the Yankees play a series in London. I mean, is that the dumbest thing you ever seen in your life? In late June. Now, I understand baseball doesn't want to send the Padres and the Royals over there, so I get the idea that you want to make it the Yankees and the Red Sox. And I know John Henry owns the soccer team, and he loves money, so, I mean, it's got to do with that, too. But, I mean, and he's going to have the home games. But does anybody does any English person, forget the Americans who are working there, who are dying to watch an American sport, and I think that's, to a large degree, a lot of the fan base that goes to the football games in London, because there's a lot of, as there's a million Americans all over the world, and a lot of them live and work in London, and if you give them an NFL game, I don't care if it's, whoever it might be, they're going to go to the game, and Jaguars included. You don't notice, you never see the big teams give up a home game. It's always the garbage teams, the Jacksonvilles, the Cardinals, it's the Dolphins, it's the crap that gives up the home game. The Giants never give up a home game. The Patriots don't give up. Green Bay ain't giving up. Redskins, none of these other teams. It's Cincinnati. It's teams that have trouble selling out. The big team will never give up. They go as a road team, the Rams, but the big team will never give up a home game. And the NFL, likes to think they've, they've hit a home run and they've had an incredible amount of success. I don't buy it myself. I think it's a complete waste of time. I don't think anybody, I don't know what the point is, and I think most of the fans who go to those games, I really do believe they're English, they're American fans living in London. I don't think it's the English fan all of a sudden loving football. That's me. Now, I'm not there. I don't know. I don't get a chance to talk to the clientele. That's just my take on it. And the baseball now wants to follow suit. So baseball is going to send the Red Sox and the Yankees there next June 29th or 30th, right around that period, to play a 2-game series. Now, I mean, what's the point? What is baseball trying to do? It's the Yankees. You're going to lose 2 home games. I know they play a lot of home games against each other, but you're going to lose 2 home games, at least one apiece, maybe both Red Sox home games against the Yankees, to play a couple of games in London. For what reason? Would you go to a cricket match at Fenway Park? Will you run to a cricket match, India and Pakistan, in a cricket match? You going to go? How about London? How about Australia versus England? You going to flock the Yankee Stadium to see how many wickets or how many runs they can score? I've been to a mini cricket match. Bring a blanket and a couple cocktails. You're going to be there a while. Who in the world is going to go? Why would anybody do that? So why all of a sudden, what, we're going to all of a sudden convince Brits? Now, again, unless you're doing it for the billions of Americans who live there, give them something to do around July 4th. Hey, Yankees, Red Sox, I can relive my childhood growing up in Medford, Oregon. All right, fine. I get it. But other than that, what's the point? Stop trying to worry about, changing. How about we make sure that the baseball's TV ratings and ballparks and all those things, why don't we make sure it's organized from this standpoint instead of worrying about that over there in England? And one other thing, I just thought of it, and I want to get this on the board here. I understand it's part of the CBA, and I understand that, from a practical perspective, it does make some sense. The Cubs did it a few years ago with Chris Bryant. You see what the Braves are doing? They're sending Ronald Acuna. Who, what? Yeah, Ronald Acuna down to the minor leagues, AAA, wherever they're AAA. It used to be in Richmond. I don't know where it is now, but is it in Gwinnett? In Georgia, wherever it is, they're sending Acuna down to AAA. Now, why are they sending Acuna down to AAA? They say because of seasoning, quote unquote, and let him learn a little more. This is a guy, Acuna. He's the number 1 prospect. He hit .444 in spring. And last year in AAA, he hit .340. The Braves stink. This is why it gets the Players Association mad. They want to keep him there because if they Get that service time lowered. They don't have to pay the extra year, and he's got an extra year of control. So 6 years from now, if they hold him back a couple of weeks, they have him an extra year. So I understand the principle of it, but the Atlanta Braves are a disaster. They have not spent a nickel. They lost 1 million players because of the former GM with the illegal stuff that he did in the Dominican Republic and international signings. Opening day, that's one of the few days in Atlanta the fan base is going to have some interest. You think Acuna could be there and let him be part of it in left field? No. So we'll bring him up April 13th when the Braves are playing San Diego in front of 5,000 in that ballpark in Cobb County. Is that what you want to do now? In this era of discontent, in this period, this winter of discontent, when the ice-cold relationship between the agents and the Players Association and the owners, this is what you want to do. When the Braves, we're worried 7 years down the road now about Acuna's availability as a free agent. It's not like the Braves don't have money. They built the stadium for him. I mean, they got that. I'm sure they put a little money in, but, Cobb County built that stadium. You mean to tell me they can't have the kids start in left field opening day? 19 after the hour, continue. Mad Dog on